So I was doing a Mat Yong class, and right next door there was a gamelan rehearsal that a friend of mine insisted that I come to. So I came along and was asked to play the sarun, and just playing those very first few notes, I felt the vibrations of the instruments, and I felt the kind of unison and synergy from having all the instruments having that same kind of vibration together, and I was hooked.
The gamelan is a melodic percussive instrument. From its name itself, gamelan, gamel actually means to strike. So we create melodies by striking the keys to create a melody. So every instrument that you see is built slightly differently. Some of them are gongs that are suspended vertically, and you hit them, and then you usually don't damp them to stop the sound. And then some of them are small little gongs, little pots like what you see over there, that are suspended horizontally, and you play on them horizontally. Sometimes you damp them, sometimes you don't. And then of course you have the metal bars, and those actually sit on a little resonating chamber. So, and that resonating chamber, that little empty space beneath those instruments, actually reflects the sound and amplifies the vibrations. So every instrument you see around us that Rhythm in Bronze plays on is built slightly differently, and the physics for it is all slightly different as well.
The different types of gamelan instruments are struck with different types of mallets, and that produces a vibration. And an interesting thing is that many of the instruments have pairs. So for example, you have two saruns and two pakins, and they're tuned slightly out of phase with each other. So when you strike the same note on two different instruments, there's a kind of interference that happens that some people say creates that shimmering sound for the gamelan. So that's I think a very unique kind of mechanism for the sound to be alive, which is why a recording of gamelan can never really be the same. And also the different instruments have different ways of resonating the sound. So there are 5 main pitches in the Malay gamelan, but the different instruments have a different number of keys or pots that carry those notes. So for example, the bonangs have 2 octaves of it, but the saruns would have only 1. And each of them are pitched at different octaves. So altogether you create a very full sound.
It's so different from the Western instrument. It has so much of character in it, the sound, the vibration. And it was actually when first time I heard the gong, agong, the one in the black. And that was the one, when the first time I heard it, the sound really traveled right from the instrument, right through the floor, right up to my heart. And that was the one that I felt so, it was such a wonderful feeling. And that was why I felt that the gamelan chose me, not me chose the gamelan.
The gamelan is actually a very physical instrument because you strike it. So there's only so many ways you can vary the sound. Most people think you hit it, it's got one sound, that's it. But there's a lot of variation and nuance I find that you can bring out from the gamelan by your physicality with the instrument. And for me, that's a very attractive quality that I find an easier way for me to express myself.
When I play the gamelan, it seems more natural to me compared to the other instruments, and I breathe along with it as well. Very different from the way I react towards the other Western instruments that I'm more used to playing. So I think it's a function, it's an influence on my body and how it feels when I hear the gongs. I just naturally start moving according to it lah.
I have heard stories passed down to me from the people who have taught me the gamelan of mystical occurrences happening around instruments, of there being spiritual guardians residing over a particularly old set, and there being rituals to show your respect and not offend the instruments. So that always surrounds the instruments with an aura of mystery.
You know, you hear about in old gamelan sets like the one in Pekan, in Pahang, about how it plays alone when there's nobody around, you know. You hear about the taboos of women not being allowed to play the gamelan at a certain time of the month, and if they do, they break that taboo, then something bad happens to it. I haven't tried, so I don't know. So yeah, you hear all these stories, you know, little rituals that when we have the blessing of a new set, for example, that I've attended, and how they lay out some of the offerings for the spirits. And whether or not I believe in it, at the end of the ceremony, when I look at the egg there, it's like gone, like eaten up, you know, and I don't know by whom. So all that makes me like, okay, yeah, maybe there are things that I don't yet understand about it, and it's related to the gamelan that I love.
Because of how the instruments come into being, they're not manufactured, they're not factory made, there's no blueprint for a Malay gamelan set. They're actually handmade by a group of people, tuned by ear. You know, they're sitting there sort of striking it, listening to it. That has an effect on the instruments. So all this energy and life and thought have gone into them, and to me that has a mystical quality to it. So we treat them with the same kind of level of respect that has gone into them, their creation.
I want people to know that gamelan is not only Javanese and Balinese gamelan. I want them to know that there is another sound to the gamelan, and that is the Malay gamelan, and that is rhythm and bronze, their music and their sound. And that is what I want to do. That is my dream, for the world to hear our sound.